In '68, Hubert Humphrey made it to the top of his party. He had come a long way since West Virginia.
My fellow Americans, my fellow Democrats, I proudly accept the nomination of our party.
There was an attempt to get Ted Kennedy on the ticket as vice president, but after much sober thought, Ted refused. He had first to find the limits of his role as the new Kennedy patriarch, the father of 3 and Uncle Ted to Jack's 2 children and Bobby's 11. He was examining a new political role, one unhampered by the shadow of either Jack or Bob.
President Kennedy defended America against the extremists. George Wallace is in league with them. President Kennedy fought for legislation that would ensure every citizen the right to vote.
Known to the public as the younger brother, Ted began to emerge in some ways as a better politician than either of the others. Fellow senators had already seen that Teddy, unlike the brothers, seemed better prepared to deal with the Senate on its own terms. And he was heir to the Kennedy style.
My brothers believed in the dignity of man. How can those who stood with them support a man whose agents used cattle prods and dogs against human beings in Alabama? So it is not enough that this movement be defeated. It must be repudiated for the health of our country and our future as a nation. And I hope that the American people will take this opportunity to cleanse the stain of hate from American life.
We're going to succeed. We're going to win.
But Hubert's determination was not enough.
I'll tell you, it isn't going to be like 48. Lots of things have changed. You remember, that was the year that Harry Truman won by giving him hell. Well, it won't work this time. Because just remember, I'm sure you will all agree with this, that it's one thing to give him hell, but it's something else to give him Humphrey, believe me. Give it to him. Back it to him. Back it to him.
Richard Nixon, victorious, had vanquished Humphrey and outlasted the Kennedys. While the Nixons settled into the White House, Ted and the remaining Kennedys addressed fundraising dinners to pay off Bobby's campaign debts.
What'd I say? Sorry about that, Senator. Nice fellow. The senior senator from Massachusetts, Edward Moore Kennedy.
Let me say, first of all, how much all of us appreciate the fact that you were here this evening. All of us in the family, I think, owe a special word of thanks to particularly Steve and my mother, because they have been so attentive to detail, they've been so efficient, and they both use the same hairdresser. I said that minority leader. You fellows want to run him? I think Steve would actually be a great candidate in the state of New York. He's Irish Catholic, great name. He wears Italian suits. How can he lose? It is true that Steve will not be a candidate for governor next year because my mother is going to be. But let me just say, I wanted particularly Mother to come this evening because, as perhaps many of you remember, during the course of the hard-fought Indiana campaign, Mother came out there to Indiana. She made a remark at that time that someone asked her about the expenditures of funds, and Mother said, well, why shouldn't we spend it? It's our money. And so, Mother, it's particularly appropriate that you come here this evening to find out whose money we really were spending out of it. Finest mother any family's ever had.
Rose spoke often of Bobby.
Bobby, of course, would come to see his father and me, usually the evening, at Hyannis. And he would always have one of the youngsters with him, another couple by the hand, his dog coming close behind. What joy he brought us. What a making boy there is without him. We admired him. We loved him. And the world is indeed bleak without him. A devoted husband, a beloved son, an adored brother. I know I shall not see his like again. I envy you people who are watching this generation and have a chance to inspire them and help them become leaders. I envy you because it is through your guidance that they can gain the courage, the foresight, and the ideals, the dedication to ideals, which can be stimulated and mobilized and lead so much to the success of this country, this land which we love so well, Jack used to say. You have wept with us in times of sorrow, and you have rejoiced with us in times of triumph. For all these tributes of affection, we are deeply grateful.
Then, in July 1969, tragedy struck again. On the island of Chappaquiddick in the dark of night after an evening of partying, Ted Kennedy drove his car up a narrow bridge into the deep water. His passenger, Mary Jo Kopechne, a former secretary in Bobby's office, drowned. Kennedy survived, but he had failed to report the accident to authorities until 9 hours later.
The car that I was driving on an unlit road went off a narrow bridge which had no guardrails and was built on a left angle to the road. The car overturned in a deep pond and immediately filled with water. I remember thinking as the cold water rushed in around my head that I was for certain drowning. Then water entered my lungs and I actually felt the sensation of drowning. But somehow I struggled to the surface alive. I made immediate and repeated efforts to save Mary Jo by diving into the strong and murky current, but succeeded only in increasing my state of utter exhaustion and alarm. My conduct and conversations during the next several hours, to the extent that I can remember them, make no sense to me at all. Although my doctors informed me that I suffered a cerebral concussion as well as shock, I do not seek to responsibility for my actions by placing the blame either on the physical and emotional trauma brought on by the accident or on anyone else. There is no truth whatever, to the widely circulated suspicions of immoral conduct that have been leveled at my behavior and hers regarding that evening. There has never been a private relationship between us of any kind. I know of nothing in Mary Jo's conduct on that or any other occasion. And the same is true of the other girls at that party that would lend any substance to such ugly speculation about their character. Nor was I driving under the influence of liquor.
That winter, as a new generation of Kennedys walked the beach at Hyannisport, Joe Kennedy, so many joys turned to ashes, gave up his life. But for the others, life went on. Within months, there was a campaign for re-election to be waged, and won. Teddy faced his responsibilities and dealt with them.
Well, I try and work hard in the United States Senate, and I work hard at what I'm doing, and I'm working hard in this campaign. But really, this is more of a benefit really to me. I've valued the contacts I've had with people over the course of this campaign. I've learned a lot about their concerns and their interests. I think it's important for a public official to have this kind of a campaign, of rubbing shoulders with the people, to listen to their concerns, to see the impact of a cut in Head Start program, or when they're cutting out a milk program, or the fact that the low-income housing or middle-income housing just isn't being built, or to meet the hundreds of senior citizens who can't get into a senior citizen program. And this humanizes the issue. It is now more than 10 years since John Kennedy told us to ask not what our country could do for us, but what we could do for our country. That was a phrase and a feeling that fired the imagination of an entire generation of Americans and of people around the world. For all our citizens, rich and poor, north and south, business and labor, we brought a new awareness of the purpose of America. Brought a new respect for our basic civil liberties. We brought a new compassion to the strong. We brought new hope to all the weak. The idealism we had before may be just a spark today, but it is still there, waiting for the call that can fan it back to life.
Next. Each evening from December to December, before you drift to sleep upon your cot, think back on all the tales that you remember of Camelot. Ask every